A yoga belt, a dressing gown belt, or even a towel is very useful for one part of this sequence. I will show you an option without any of those things, however. Bringing your hands into Anjali Mudra at the heart when you're ready. And just noticing, before dropping your hands, tucking your chin, and one vertebra at a time, rolling down through your spine. At the bottom, you can bring your hands anywhere, including onto your thighs, just making it feel good, bending your knees before unfurling to stand, coming all the way back up. Again, tucking your chin, peeling your vertebra off an imaginary wall behind you, and rolling back down through the spine. Send your sit bones back and up. Bend your knees as much as you need to. It's all good. Take a moment to allow the tension to melt off your spine before walking your hands out into a downward facing dog. The name of the game here is to lengthen. You can bend your knees. It's all good. Make it your own. Lower your knees for a micro fist plank variation, knees under buttocks, or walk your knees further back for a half fist plank. It's your choice. You don't have to do a fist plank, but we'll come back to these again and again. So knees would be under buttocks if you need that option. At any stage, lengthen, send your sit bones back, unfurl. 1 to 2 chaturangas. Inhale, we send our sit bones back. Exhale, we round. And then we have the option of 1 to 2 chaturangas, elbows into the side body. So squeeze your elbows in. Last time, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, unfurl. And 1 to 2 chaturangas, micro variations or the half plank variations or even full variations. Now this last one, we unfurl, just one chaturanga, and then up dog, knees on the floor is a nice option. Lengthening front line of the body, belly squeezes, tuck your toes, find your downward facing dog. Lift your top chest away from the floor. Do what you can here, but keep breathing. You might need to lower your knees to the floor and come back into your downward facing dog, and that's all good. Now everyone lower their knees. Step your right foot to your right thumb. Find your lunge shape. Release the tension from the back hip flexor. And then twist. Keep your chest as close to that knee as possible. Draw your shoulder blades together. And most importantly, breathe. Breathe. Relax the face. Hand back to the floor. And step your foot towards the other knee. So there's a square shape now. Inhale, lift the top chest. Exhale, round like cat-cow. Inhale, top chest lifts, belly draws in. And then exhale, like someone's punching you in the belly round. Inhale, lift your top chest, draw your hip points in. And then step the front foot forward and find your little release of the back thigh, really supporting the head here. The head and the neck. Hands to the floor, step back, come back onto your fists. Micro or half plank variation, pause. Slight bend in the elbows, breathe. Draw your navel in towards the spine. Hands flat to the floor in a triangle shape for our push-ups. Unfurl, 1 to 2. Our hands are at the center in that triangular shape now. And again, 1 to 2, 3 unfurls each time. Inhale, we lengthen, send the sit bones back. And exhale, unfurl, 1 to 2. You could do 3 if you need to, or if you want to, that's all good. Hands flat to the floor again, unfurl for our 1 chaturanga. Exhale, squeeze your elbows in. Inhale, half up dog, belly to the spine. Exhale, belly squeezes, lifting the body, tuck your toes, step your hands forward, find your downward facing dog. I'm demoing bending the knees here. So really sending the sit bones up towards the sky. And then again, I'm demoing the option of lowering the knees whenever you need to. So at the beginning, down dog is really quite challenging, but we can always lower our knees and come right back into it. We've only missed a microsecond. Lowering our knees to the floor now, stepping left foot to the left thumb, and finding the release of the back thigh. Come back to your breathing, you're noticing, and now our twist, our lunge twist. Draw your shoulder blades together, feel the squeeze, release the top chest, hand back to the floor, square shape for that lunge. Inhale, lift the top chest, exhale, we round. Twice more. The top chest lifts on the inhalation. And we draw the belly in, rounding through the low back, especially on the exhalation. As the top chest lifts, the belly keeps drawing in. Support your head and neck now, and step the front foot further forward for our nice controlled lunge. Releasing the back thigh, enjoying that. Hands to the floor, step back. Fist plank option again. You don't have to do a fist plank, obviously. Maybe you lift your knees and then you lower them and you lift them and you lower them, and that's another option in our sequence. Just finding a microsecond of challenge. Then hands flat to the floor, stepping them wider than your mat for a mid-range push-up. They're just slightly out to the side. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, unfurl. And this time our elbows move out and slightly back. Keep your upper back in line with the shoulder blades, so 3 rounds of 1 to 2. And now this last time, back in under the shoulders with the hands, and we unfurl to our 1 chaturanga, upper back in line with the shoulder blades, our half up dog. You have the option to lift the knees as I'm demoing here, and reach through the toes. Reversal, downward facing dog. Breathe. Have a little wiggle. Knees to the floor. That's our option. And then back into our downward facing dog. If you can hold your downward facing dog, you do. Otherwise, knees to the floor and then back into your downward facing dog. We want to allow the breath to flow. If it stops flowing, we either take a break or we deepen our roots and refine the breath through the intensity. Again, walk your hands back to your feet, hands onto something, release the tension from the head and unfurl. So stack your vertebrae one at a time to come back up to stand, knees are bent. Hands behind the head like before, and we lift the top chest in the exact same way. Then release one hand, optional, and then the other. We're stretching the front line of the body, and that chest lifts up towards the sky. When we do that again, keep your belly in. You'll notice that my knees are bent. This is helpful in a back bend. And then the other hand, we swap. Really find that stretch for the front line of the body. Step your feet wider than your mat. So Mabu is feet facing forward, but it might be easier, as I'm doing, to turn your toes out as we find our squat, more yoga, toes turned out, or Mabu, come out again, We're going to do this twice more. Squat down, find your mabu or yoga variation of a squat. Come out of it. And one last time, tucking your tailbone under. Keep breathing. Coming up to stand. Feet back hip distance apart and shake the tree. So this exercise, we're shaking the tension out of the body. Right foot forward, push kick. So push with one foot and then swap legs. Now your foot can be really low. That's absolutely fine, but keep thinking that you're pushing something away with the foot. Your hip points are drawing into your body. So you're using your deep core muscles, that's hip points in, to do the heavy lifting of the leg. Keep going. Swapping legs. Exhale as we kick. Inhale as we swap the legs. One of our hands drops down as we kick that leg forward, and one hand protects the face. Make this feel good, like a warm-up for the legs. So make your hips feel good. Your legs can stay bent if you need to. That's all good. But make it feel like you're limbering up rather than tightening anything. Now shaking that tree again, releasing the tension from the knees, being really mindful of our knees in this sequence. All sequences, I guess, but anytime there are squats of any description. Now I'm just going to get a belt, a yoga belt. It's just really helpful for drawing the leg back into the socket. I'll show you both options. So either if you have a belt, you bring the belt around the foot. Otherwise, you just lift your foot in, you hug your knee in towards your chest with your hands. And on the other side, I'll just show that option. Either you lift the foot up without the belt, or you bring the belt around the foot. It's easier to drop the sit bone down. Now swap sides again with or without the belt. And begin to extend that leg. So keeping the knee high, the foot and leg doesn't need to be high, but however high the knee is, try and think of extending from there so that the foot is higher than the knee. Like a warm-up, leg doesn't need to straighten, swap sides. You can bend the supporting knee a bit to fire up the glute. Does it feel like a warm-up, whatever you're doing? Try not to think of just straightening the leg at the expense of the back. That's not the aim. So you can keep the leg bent if you need to. Back long, back to shaking the tree. Nothing is really that important. So let go of thinking any one pose is really important. It's all like a continual warm-up. So rolling down through the spine again now. We can allow the hands and arms to be heavy. Hands onto something, doesn't matter, but hinge at the hips. That means sending your sit bones back and up if your knees are bent. Now we bend and then we lift our sit bones up a little bit more. We bend and we lift our sit bones up 3 times. And then find a place to release the tension. It should feel really good before walking your hands back out into your downward facing dog. Take a moment, do what you need to do before coming into your plank. Full, half, or micro, you choose. Lift your navel. Come back into your downward facing dog. Release the tension on the exhalation. And lowering the knees to the floor. And then rocking the hips from side to side, just keeping the belly lifting. So sometimes this is called salsa hips. Bringing your hips closer to the floor. The shoulders feel good. Tucking the toes. Lengthen your back in your downward facing dog again. Lowering your knees to the floor again. Extend the right leg back from tabletop position. Exhale, tiger curl, knee to the chest. Knee to the nose, extend the leg again, inhale, exhale, cross body tiger curl, knee to opposite elbow, really rounding. Toes are on the floor, inhale, extend the leg back, keep your back long, exhale, outer body tiger curl. My toes are on the floor to activate the deep core muscles. Step that foot to the right thumb and come up to stand. Keep the back heel lifted. Bend and straighten the front leg by pressing into the ball of the foot. So we're coming in and out of a high lunge. This is the option. You can stay there. Kali Mudra hands, so pistol grip hands. And maybe a little bit of movement, you decide. Hands on the hips again. Lean forward and back. Lean forward and back, pressing into the heel, firing up the glute, and then straighten the leg. Lean forward and back. So twice we do that. And then we release the tension by straightening the leg a little bit. Let's do that again. Lean forward and back. Lean forward and back. And then stepping the back foot in. Extend the leg in a kick and then come into a little lunge. Extend the leg in a kick and then bend the back knee. We don't have to bend it deeply, but you can. You can bend more deeply, bring the knee down towards the floor, but make sure your knees feel really good. So play around with how you're placing the weight on your front foot as you continue with those kicks and lunges. So press through the front heel to lift the back leg and then press through a little bit the ball of the foot a little bit more. Step back, fist plank. You choose micro, half plank, or even full fist plank. You might come in and out of this as I'm demoing. Lift the navel. Think of slightly rounding through your spine. Bring your hands really wide for a wide push-up. 3 times. So 3 unfurls, 2 wide push-ups. Inhale, lengthen. Sit bones move back. Exhale, unfurl. 1 to 2. And one more round of that. Inhale, lengthen. Unfurl. 1 to 2 wide push-ups. Inhale, lengthen. Hands back under the shoulders, rounding through the spine, keeping upper back in line with shoulder blades. You can lift your knees. Full or half chaturanga. Full or half up dog. You decide. And then reversal. You'll see me tucking the toes under. Harder option. Via knees or toes, downward facing dog. Breathe. Lift your top chest away from the floor. So the creases of the elbows are rotating slightly forward and we feel like our back is really broad. You draw your ribs into your body. Walking your hands back to your feet now. Most people will bend the knees, hands on the thighs. Press through the balls of the feet to stack your vertebrae one at a time, coming up to stand. Hands on the low back. This is just an option, behind the head or on the low back. We lift the top chest and squeeze the elbows in. We lift the chest up towards the ceiling. Just an option. Release that and repeat. You'll notice I'm bending my knees, stretching the chest up towards the ceiling, stretching the front line of the body as the belly draws in. Coming back to neutral again. Step your feet just outside your mat. This is an option, so do be mindful if it's too sore on your knees or if it's any sensation, come back to your wide-legged squat. Otherwise, the knees, they're inside the toes, this mabu, this martial arts pose. So this is not for everyone. Then come out, your knees feel nothing, and again, come into that squat. It's not that they're knocking in, they're just not outside. So if this hurts, turn your toes out. Come into the yoga variation. One more round. Tuck the tailbone under slightly. It's like the knees are stretching forward actually. Bring your feet back hip distance apart and shake out that tree. Think of shaking out the tension from the knees as you rock on the balls of the feet. So you're bouncing almost from the balls of the feet, and then everything shakes from that movement. So shaking out the tension. Right foot forward. Now, first option, hardest I'll show you, is like a round kick where we're closing a door, the leg moves up and back. But much easier now is we'll just do it with the hip. That might be most people's option, like I'm doing here, making a circle with that hip and making it feel really good. Like we're drawing a circle in the hip, and obviously that is preparation for the harder variation, which I'll do on the other side now. So the harder variation, you're drawing an arc with that leg, and then most people maybe will be doing what I'm doing now, which is the circle for the hip. You choose. Same or similar movement for the hip. Keep going with that, warming up our hips, and then shake out the tree. Release the tension from the top chest. Remember, we can't get it wrong. We're all trying, so enjoy it. Roll back down through your spine. Our Uttanasana, our forward fold, hands onto something. The tension melts off the head, melts off the spine here. Allowing ourselves to breathe, to notice what we're experiencing in the body, hanging out, before walking our hands back out into our downward facing dog. Ripple forward into a full half or micro plank. Then coming over onto one side, right knee is on the floor, foot is behind, and we have the option to lift that left leg up. It's like a half side plank with a glute squeeze. Again, left, we come back into our plank, and then we step the left foot behind the left knee. Instep, knee and hand are in line. That's our half plank. Or we lift into a half start plank. That top leg pulses. Keep your belly squeezing nice and tight. Back to the center again. So it's a nice little challenge. And back to our down dog. Breathe. Release the tension from the top chest. And lowering our knees to the floor. Left leg back. So awesome. Exhale, tiger curl, rounding. Inhale, thigh to the sky, so extending the leg. And exhale, cross body tiger curl. Now when we do this from the knees, keep the leg in line with the torso as you extend it. Exhale, outer body tiger curl. This is really good for our psoas. It's good to practice this even if you can do the one from down dog. Coming into our lunge shape, our high lunge, we straighten and then we come back into it. We straighten and come back into it like a warm up, pressing through the ball of the foot, making sure the glute is firing up. If you can bring the hands into Kali Mudra, go for it. Keep going with your warm up. And then lean forward and back. Twice and then straighten. Inhale, lean forward, come back to an upright position and drive to the ball of the foot again to straighten. So we're taking little breaks. Inhale, we hinge forward, back up to standing. And we do that about twice and then drive through the ball of the foot. But obviously you might have to do it every time. Now step the back foot in. We're going to kick. So either you kick now or you come back into your lunge. Bend the back knee and kick from there. Get the hip out. Think of this as a warm-up. The leg might be really low as I'm demoing. It might be bent. Keep going. We bend the back knee. and then we kick. Press through the front ball of the foot, press through the heel as you come out of your lunge so that there's no sensation in the knee. Kicking with that right leg. The hip comes out. This is a nice little firing up of our glutes and our thighs here. Hands to the floor, step back. You choose your option of fist plank. Pause. Release the excess tension. Breathe, just building our strength here. Prayer hands now. So I'm doing this as a micro push-up. You can do whatever variation you can. And push-ups with the sides of our hands on the floor. Keep going with this. I'm going to do about 20. If you're doing a half variation, you might be doing the unfurls. I'm walking my knees back a little further. So moving in the direction of a half plank variation. Just get the form right before coming into your full or half plank, full or half chaturanga, full or half upward facing dog. Stretching the front line of the body and then reversing into your downward facing dog. Breathing, relaxing the face, relaxing the jaw, and then walking your hands back to your feet. Bend your knees, drop your head down. Press through the balls of the feet to come all the way back up to stand. Hands behind your head or on the low back, flatten your buttocks to the floor as you find your variation of the back bend. Your belly is like an airbag that protects your spine. It draws in. Squeeze the elbows in. Come back up to stand. Now press the hands to the ceiling and come into a squat, lowering towards the floor, stopping where you need to. And then come all the way back up. So if your heels lift, you can come all the way down into a really low squat if you want to. Otherwise, we're stopping halfway and then we're lifting back up, just firing up the thighs. Hands press up and we lower towards the floor, keeping the tailbone lovely and long. Keep going, little pause, and then come all the way back up to stand. Shake out that tree. So where do you need to release the tension from? Now, the left leg steps forward, right foot back in our fighting stance. And it's like closing a door, so showing two of the harder variation, or back to with our hip closing the door. So we're drawing a circle in our hip. Simply make it feel good for your right hip, like a warm up, a release of the glute. It also kind of fires up the glute. Just making it feel really good. Keep going. And then the other side, I'll show two of the harder option. Sure, you can do that if you want. Leg sweeps up and forward, or the hip doing the same. Limbering up our hips. And you know, this is a really good option for doing before those kicks anyway. It might be like an option you do in the morning, even if you're trying those straighter leg kicks. Come back to the back of your mat and that lovely shaking out of the tree. Now, when you're bouncing on the balls of the feet, it's seen like you're lifting the energy up through the body. The chi up through the body, you're getting everything moving, then rolling down through the spine. one vertebra at a time. Enjoy that release for the spine. So the spine it's like it's opening when we're rounding. We forward fold. Your hands are supporting you in some way. They're on something, the floor, your shins, your thighs. You hang out and you release the tension. Walk your hands back out into your downward facing dog. Release the tension there. If your back is long, you can press back through the thighs. Lower your knees. Now, we have an option of bending our elbows from our down dog and straightening. You'll notice my knees are bent here to keep my back long. It's like a polar bear push-up. You can lower your knees whenever you need to take a break, or you can do the push-ups from your knees. Some people will be doing it from more of a downward facing dog. You really want to feel your back squeezing before you bend your elbows and before straightening them. Now back into our downward facing dog from here. Lifting the chest away from the floor, armpits away from the floor. So it's really strong, our back is broad, lowering our knees to the floor. Right leg extends, tiger curl. So keeping the toes on the floor is not cheating. Inhale, cross body tiger curl. Inhale, extend that leg back. Exhale, outer body tiger curl. Inhale, we extend that leg back. And then we step the foot up towards the right thumb. Come up into your lunge shape again. And now we're slightly bending the back knee and kind of coming up to stand. So we're releasing the tension a little bit. And then now you have the option to just hold that high lunge. Release the back thigh. Shoulders away from the ears. Hands into prayer pose. Step the back foot in. Hands on the hips. Inhale. We're bending the right knee to fire up the right glute. Left leg lifts. And it's like a donkey kick. Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3, donkey kick. So press the heel up. Level up the hips. Inhale. Knee lifts up. Hip points in. And exhale. Press the heel behind you and up towards the sky. Keep going with this. So the idea is to keep your hips level here. Your left hip doesn't lift higher than the right. Inhale. Knee back up towards you. And then exhale. Pausing here. The back knee is bent. Leveling up those hips. Hands into prayer. Bend the right leg. The right knee to fire up that glute, optional. Back knee to the floor, step back. Fist plank. You choose your option. Pause. Now bring the fists together, but roughly underneath the heart. And our push-ups from this fist plank variation, our fists are together. Those 3 rounds, inhale, we send the sit bones back, we unfurl. 1 to 2 push-ups of this variation. Keep going with that. Rounding through the spine. Exhale, we push up. Inhale, we lengthen. Hands back to chaturanga. So, and plank under the shoulders. Our chaturanga, our plank, our up dog. Inhale. Exhale, reversal via knees or toes. Downward facing dog. Good work, guys. Good work. So keeping going. Keep breathing. Walking our hands back to our feet. Our variation of a forward fold and unfurl. Our variation of a back bend. All nice and controlled. Whatever variation you're doing, coming back up to stand. Stepping our feet out wider than our mat, toes out. Coming into our squat pulses. So it's like Mabu or horse stance, but our toes are out. It's easier for most people. And then pulse, come out of it and pulse in that squat. So hold and pulse up and down. Come out of it for a little break. One more round. Trying to tuck the tailbone under like the sit bones are moving forward. Coming all the way out now. Shaking the tree, shaking the tension out of the body. Releasing the shoulders, the elbows. Now, fighting stance, right foot forward, protect your face, and cross body kick. So the leg is actually moving out to the other side. We have our foot flexed. I'm demoing a really low variation now, and that's a complete option, as is keeping the knee bent. I find that making these kicks feel like a warm-up is actually much better for flexibility. Your hamstrings will release gradually. So what feels like the variation that's limbering up your body? Keep going. Dropping the hand down as the leg kicks up. One hand always protecting the face. Back to the back of our mat and shaking our tree. Beginning to enjoy this, allowing the hands and shoulders to be shaken, if that's the word, by the bouncing on the balls of the foot. Everything is moving from that. They're not shaking on their own. Rolling back down, tucking the chin, rounding, Uttanasana, forward fold. Maybe we bend and then lift the sit bones up 3 times. Inhale, bend, rebend, and then lift the sit bones up. Keeping the belly on the thighs. Walk your hands out into your down dog now. Release the tension on the exhalation. And lowering our knees to the floor. Elbows to the floor. Ugly plank. This is really good training. We round through the low back, the mid back, and the upper back. So the hips are peeled off the floor, and then we lower them back down. So the hips lift by the rounding action, one vertebra at a time, round, low back, mid back, upper back, then lower back down. Think of strings lifting your upper back and your lower back. Just tuck your tailbone under. You're really going to feel your abdominal muscles engage. Lower back down. Hands under shoulders, press back. Downward facing dog. Pressing back through our thighs. Now, lowering our knees to the floor, extend the left leg back. Exhale. Center body tiger curl. Inhale. Reach through the toes. Cross body tiger curl. Inhale. Leg extension. Outer body tiger curl. Remember, toes are on the floor to activate your psoas. Step that left foot beside the left thumb. Carefully come up into your high lunge. And we have the option of bending, micro bending the back knee, and then micro straightening the front leg to come in and out like we're releasing the tension. Kali Mudra with your hands, that's the option. Some little bit of movement there in our high lunge before hands in prayer and stepping the back foot in. Notice I'm bending my left leg as I lift my right knee up. Hip points stay in. Virabhadrasana Warrior 3 variation. Press the right heel towards the sky. Inhale, hip points in, right knee lifts. Exhale, right heel to the sky. Keep the belly drawing in. Inhale. It's like we're rounding as the knee lifts. And we keep that almost rounding of the low back. It's engagement as we press the right heel up towards the ceiling. Inhale, knee lifts, hip points in. Exhale, pause. Hands into prayer pose. Keep the navel lifting up towards your low back, belly tight. Keep pressing the back heel to the sky. Hands to the floor. Lower the back knee to knee, fist plank. Your choice, your variation. I'm lowering and lifting my knees, but it's just to give you more options when we're beginning anything or new to something. We have to find those steps that are suitable for us. It's all simply steps, that's all. Now another push-up variation. Our hands are in our triangular shape, and you might do a micro push-up, or you might do a half push-up. You know, the slanting diagonal with the knee, but we've got 3 rounds. 3 rounds of 1 to 2. This really works our triceps. And then inhale, walk your hands out again, under the shoulders, plank, full, half, whatever suits. Chaturanga, squeeze your elbows in, full or half up dog. Stretch the front line of the body. And then reversal via knees or toes. Lengthen the back. For most people at the beginning, bending the knees and down dog is really helpful. The back is always first in yoga. I mean, in everything I can think of at the moment. Unfurl as we walk our hands back to our feet, unfurl to stand. Your choice of upper body back bend. The more we repeat something, the more warmed up we are. So no need to force anything, just repetition. Coming out of that, squeezing the belly to come out. Walking our feet wider than our mat, toes slightly turned out or very much turned out like I'm doing here. Tuck the tailbone under, lift one heel and then the other, firing up our glutes. Press through the opposite heel. As we lift one heel, press down through that opposite heel. Coming up to stand, coming into it again and repeating. Keep your buttocks as close to being in line with the knees as possible, just to make it more challenging. We've got 3 rounds, so this is our second round of lifting one heel, come out of it. Oh, we have 2 rounds. So shaking the tree, we're done with that. Much quicker than we thought. Shaking the tree, releasing the tension. Now standing sidewards, we're going to begin the work for a side kick. Of course you can fully extend, but really good to lift the knee and hip as high as you can. This is a really good warm-up. And then step to the opposite side, lift the knee, lift the hip as high as you can. You should feel a squeeze in the side, the glute, as you do this. Keep going with that, stepping to one side and then the other, preparation for our side kick. Of course, both glutes are working very strongly. You can bend the supporting knee if you need to, but if you don't need to, actually keep the leg as straight as possible. So you'll notice the foot is turned out. You'll also notice my knee is a lot higher than my hip. So as within your capacity, flex the foot that's being lifted. So as you lift the knee and foot, flex, bring the toes towards you. Keep going. This feels like a really nice warm-up. At the beginning, of course, everything can be challenging. But I like it because it really fires up the glutes and it works those muscles specifically when you do the preparation for the side kick. Keep going. And then shaking out the tree again. Really bouncing on the balls of the feet so it should feel like the energy is lifting up through your body. Now hug the right knee in towards the chest here. That's our option. And then left leg, hug the left knee in towards the chest and drop your sit bones down. Now we have an option of taking hold of the right big toe and working on extending the leg. Most people will have it still bent because the torso is first. Lengthen the torso is first, not the hamstring, because we don't want the low back to round here as you continue. That's why using a belt, even a dressing gown belt or a towel, is much better when we're beginning, because you can use the belt to straighten or move towards straightening the leg or working on the hamstring without rounding the low back. Now, most people will have the knee bent. I'm demoing that for a very long time, and that's okay. It's not actually the best place to work on our hamstring flexibility. It's more about lengthening our back, with respect for what we're doing with the leg. So bringing the leg out to the side here, maybe it's straight or maybe the knee is bent. I know some people are very flexible in their hamstrings. I was never when I began yoga, but I know some people can be. So hugging your left knee in, you can take hold of the big toe and use your hand. That's our option instead of the belt. And you kind of work on bending and slightly moving in the direction of extending or straightening, or you straighten, but you're drawing your leg back into the socket and your back is long and strong. Make your back first. And there's other better poses for just working on the hamstrings. This is about a standing balance, the back long, and then adding the leg. So with the belt now, it's just easier because you can pull on the belt and you can actually draw your leg back into the socket. We take hold of the belt on the inside now, extend the leg, we bring it out to the side. It's either bent or straight, no rush there. With the hamstrings, it's actually quicker to cajole them. The slow way is actually the quicker way with the hamstrings. So being patient. Release that belt. Shake out the tree. So enjoying this always, our nice little break. Releasing the tension from the body. And then rolling back down through the spine. That shaking out the tree really wakens us up as well energetically. Gets everything flowing and moving. Finding our forward fold. Maybe we bend and then lift the sit bones up. Rebend and then lift. And we can do that 3 times. You want to think of stretching the mat between your feet. And then find your down dog. Lower your knees to the floor. Lowering your elbows. And either an elbow plank or forearm plank, half with knees on the floor. Or, micro variation, but make it an ugly plank. So round, wide, so that you're engaging your abdominal muscles. Rather than it going into the joints, we want to protect our low back. So that slight rounding is fine. Now pressing back up onto your hands and back into a downward facing dog. Use that exhalation. Now this is a practice. The right leg extends up. Keep the hip in line with the left and then lower it. So we're working on 3-legged down dog twice more. Right leg extends up. Keep the foot flexed if you can and lower. So we're keeping our hips in line rather than opening them. This is much harder. Now side plank option. Sorry, it's not side plank, it's wild thing option. Although you can't see it here, step your right foot behind the knee. Your foot is not in line with the knee. It's easier to see on the other side. And then coming over onto our back. So pelvic curls, Pilates style. Peel your vertebra off the floor one at a time. Squeeze your glutes and press through the heels. Now our upper back is on the floor. Keep going with that. We lift on the inhalation and we roll back down on the exhalation. Lift one vertebra at a time and then lower one vertebra at a time. Now we have the option to pulse. Press through the heels, lower halfway down, then lift up. Keep drawing your pubic bone in towards your belly button almost, or your hip points, like your hip points are dropping into your back. Keep pulsing with your hips. Lift your heels off the floor now and do the same. We lift our hips off the floor and lower back down. So peel your vertebra one at a time off the floor. Keep your upper back on the floor and then roll back down. That's our option 1. Our option 2 is our pulses, squeezing the buttocks and pressing your hips up. And you keep pulsing like that, squeezing the buttocks and pressing the hips upwards. Draw your hip points into your body. Walk your feet as wide as your mat, toes turned out. Peel yourself off the floor and then squeeze your knees wide and close. Lower back down. Peel your low back and mid back off the floor. Squeeze your knees wide and then lower your mid back and low back down onto the floor. Keep going with that or hold and pulse. So lifting the hips, holding them lifted and squeezing your knees open and back to the starting position. I know this is challenging, squeezing into the sides of the glutes, but really good for us. Now, yoga bridge pose. Peel yourself off the floor. Lift your top chest in towards your chin. Keep your neck lovely and long, and your top chest lifts in towards your chin. Keep stretching your knees away, lengthening your thighs and knees down towards the bottom of the mat. Everything should feel good. And keep pressing through your heels. Keep pressing down through your shoulders. Lovely long neck. We're holding, we're breathing. This is really good for us. Lovely, beautiful back bend. Keep pressing down through the hands, and the shoulder blades are squeezing together slightly. Lower back down, one vertebra at a time. Roll to one side. Come back to your knees. Walk your hands forward, downward facing dog. Left leg extends up and then foot to the floor, whatever you can do. Bend your knees if you need to. Left leg to the sky. Bring your foot back to the floor. One more time. Thigh to the sky, three-legged downward facing dog, and then foot back to the floor. Lower your knees. Our wild thing variation. Step your left foot out. Your right foot out, sorry. And your left foot, you can see better here, is behind you. It's further behind the knee. Coming into your wild thing variation, stretching the front line of the body. Enjoying that beautiful stretch. Making sure the shoulder feels good. Then coming back down over onto your back. Interlacing our hands now for Setu Bandha. So it's a bridge, a bound bridge. We're lifting the top chest in, we're squeezing the shoulders, almost tucking the shoulders under so the top chest can lift. Squeeze your hands together if you can and draw them down towards the bottom of your mat. So it should feel really nice, this beautiful squeeze around your shoulder blades as your top chest lifts in towards your chin. Make this feel really good. Pause. It is quite challenging in some ways. There is an intensity when you're new to this pose. Coming all the way out, unfurling the shoulders, rolling down through the spine, coming out and sweeping your legs forward. Now for the really nice cool down, drawing some circles for our hips. And then reversing the direction of those circles. Knees move together, down, away, and back together again. Hug your left knee in towards your chest. Keep your tailbone on the floor, sit bones on the floor, and then interlacing your hand behind the thigh, leg bent or straight. Point and flex your foot. So releasing the tension from your foot, then evert and invert, bringing your toes to one side and then the other. Keep going now. Ankle circles, releasing the tension from your ankle. Keep pressing your thigh into your hands, then reverse that ankle circle. Press the leg up towards the sky, leg back into the socket. Hug the knee in towards the chest again, tailbone on the floor. And twist, draw the knee across the body, lengthen the low back. Pause. Allow the tension to drain away. Back to the center, hug the right knee in towards the chest. Lengthen your tailbone and sit bones away. Extend the leg up towards the sky, knee bent or straight. Point and flex your foot. It's about pressing the thigh into the hands rather than straightening your leg. Do what you can as you invert and evert with the ankle, releasing the tension. Then ankle circles, rotating your foot in one direction and then the other. Hug your knee in towards your chest again. I flex my foot when I do that. And sweep the knee across the body into a twist. Within your capacity, whatever feels good. Backhand is in a half Y shape usually. To release underneath the armpit and into the chest. Just enjoying. Come back to the center. And again, some hip circles might feel really good or something else. And reverse those hip circles. Drawing a figure of 8 now, massaging the low back. Getting into any little pockets of tension. Legs up towards the sky. Have another little wiggle of your ankles and feet. For happy baby, we have an option of taking hold of the inner thighs. If flexibility is stopping us taking hold of the feet, tailbone on the floor, we're lengthening the low back again. So make this feel really nice for your back. Now, windshield wipering the knees from side to side. You can pause any place here, releasing your hip flexors. Really lengthen the back knee down towards the bottom of the mat. Find the release. Keep breathing, allowing the breath to flow, the tension to drain away on the exhalation. Again, pausing if you want. One side sometimes is tighter. Allowing the tension to be carried away on the exhalation. We can think of the breath as a tide, coming in and out, and allowing the body to be porous to that tide. Take a full body stretch now, even if you want, lengthening one leg and then the other, whatever feels good. But really release the whole body wherever there's any remaining tension from our practice. Finding our Shavasana, tucking the shoulders under, glancing down the body to see if the body is symmetrical. Our feet are out at equal distance. Of course, you can put a blanket over you, something soft like a blanket underneath your head. Usually we don't use a pillow unless we really need to. So allowing the neck to be long. And almost the body to remold itself in a symmetrical shape now. We're allowing the breath to come in and out like a tide. You can visualize that on the inhalation. The breath is coming up through the body, up and around the body, up and around the feet and legs, and belly and chest and head and arms. And on the exhalation, the reverse journey of that breath down and around through the body. You can just rest here and allow yourself to be breathed. So allowing that tide up and down through the body as you relax the top chest. Relax the face, relax the jaw, allowing the breath to come and go like a tide. A yoga belt, a dressing gown belt, or even a towel is very useful for one part of this sequence. I will show you an option without any of those things, however. Bringing your hands into Anjali Mudra at the heart when you're ready. And just noticing, before dropping your hands, tucking your chin, and one vertebra at a time,